On November 14th, 1993, Don Shula took his Miami Dolphins up to Philadelphia for a chance to cement his immortality and become the all-time winningest head coach. Going from his second string to third string quarterback, he was able to use his strategic know-how to pull out a win to give him 325 wins on his career, passing the legend George Halas and becoming the all-time winningest head coach, who is often forgot about on the list of greatest head coaches of all time because he always struggled to win the big one. But his longevity shows how his ability to adapt that he learned from an early childhood allowed him to become one of the greatest head coaches of all time. Join us today as we dive into the history of Don Shula and how he became the winningest head coach of all time. Today on Daily Sports History. Welcome to Daily Sports History. I'm Ethan Reese, your guide, because I once coached a Little League team to a win. So Don Shula was an Ohio kid and was the son of Hungarian immigrants. And he was born during the Great Depression. And he was a skinny kid that loved sports. And by the age of 14, he actually forged his signature just to play football on his high school team because he loved the game that much. Although he wasn't a great athlete, he wasn't big, he didn't really stand out, but he used something that really makes great players: his head. He used his brain to have great success. And that got him into college at John Carroll University, where he actually became a standout halfback, and he had some standout performances. He ran for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns versus Youngstown State, and also ran for over 125 yards over Syracuse University. And this was enough to get him drafted by the Cleveland Browns in the 9th round. So today he wouldn't have even been drafted. And working under legendary coach Paul Brown, who was the coach of the Browns at the time, it really helped him see what a great coach was. He played 2 years there, then go play 3 years for the Baltimore Colts, and then finish his career with the Washington Redskins. And after he got done playing, he did what a lot of former players do. He looked for a chance to coach. And one way to do that is to be an assistant anywhere you can go. And there are lots of colleges looking for young assistants. And that's what happened when he joined the University of Virginia as an assistant in 1958 as a defensive backs coach. Then he would move to Kentucky in the same role, and then the Detroit Lions in the same role, and then would be promoted to the Lions defensive coordinator in 1961. And then he got the break of a lifetime. Luckily, he had some clout with the Baltimore Colts, who were looking for a new coach, and he was able to wow them with his defensive prowess, becoming the youngest head coach in NFL history at 33 years old in 1963. And this is the true reason why he holds the record for the most wins in NFL history. He got started early. With many of these career achievements, like the most games played, the most points, the most touchdowns, the most fields, they all revolve around having a long-lasting career. And starting early is usually the best way to achieve this. And it wasn't just that he started early, because there's a lot of coaches that are first-time head coaches that struggle. But he did the opposite. He got the Colts really good, really fast, getting them all the way to Super Bowl number 3. But unfortunately, there was another guy named Joe who kind of stole the game and the headlines for this. But even after this, he still had a lot of success with the Baltimore Colts. Over 7 years that he was the head coach there, he had 73 wins and 26 losses and 4 ties. A great record. It also helped that he adapted his team around a great quarterback in Johnny Unitas. And he made Johnny into one of the best weapons in the NFL, changing the position of quarterback, making the passing game more than just a gimmick. It was now a weapon. And he was having a lot of success, so much so that in 1970, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, Joe Robbie, decided to make a bold move and go after Shula, who had just lost another Super Bowl in 1969, offering him a $70,000 contract, as well as 10% stake ownership in the AFL team. This contract was unheard of and still is unheard of to this day. and it was something that Don could not pass up. So he went down to South Beach and took over the Miami Dolphins, and it didn't look good at first. That first year, they went 3-10 with one tie, and the next year is when he made his mark. They would go 10-4 and make it to the Super Bowl and fall again. So now it looks like Don is just a loser for the Super Bowls. He can get you wins and he can get you to the game, but he can't win it. Then 1972 came and he had his team in place. As he had team control, he could get everyone he wanted. And after 3 seasons there in Miami, his team was ready to go next level. Despite the fact losing early Bob Griese, their starting quarterback, Earl Morrall took over the team and did something the NFL has not seen since. They had a perfect season, 17-0. And that includes a victory over the Washington Redskins, giving Don Shula his first Super Bowl championship and the last team to go undefeated in history. And guess what would happen? The next year, they would come back and win again, beating the Minnesota Vikings the following year after going 12-2. They may not have been undefeated, but they again had a great season. And over 10 seasons with Miami, he would rack up 9 double-digit win seasons, really skyrocketing him up the leaderboard. Then after the 70s came, and a lot of that undefeated team started to retire and to leave to go other places, the team started to have a little bit of a downslide. In 1980, they would go 500, finishing third in the AFC East. But they would bounce up a little bit with 11 wins in 81, 7 in 82, in a shortened season where they actually made it to the Super Bowl again, but lost to the Washington Redskins. And then in 1983, he made another decision that would likely why he was able to get the record for the most wins of all time, selecting Dan Marino with the 27th pick in the draft, changing the quarterback game again, just like he did with Johnny Unitas, but even more so with Dan Marino. Dan Marino played quarterback like we see today, passing the ball all over the field, setting records for the most touchdowns, the most passing yards, and records that would stand for years and years until other Hall of Fame quarterbacks came to break them down. The only problem was, in 1984, after Marino's historic 5,000 yards, 48 touchdown season, they made it to the Super Bowl, and Don Shula lost again. Yes, he was 2-4 in Super Bowls, and this would be his last Super Bowl appearance. But he was consistent continuously. Him and Dan Marino created a bond the likes we would not see again till Belichick and Brady. They were joined at the hip and created one of the most dynamic duos in NFL history. And if Dan Marino had stayed healthy throughout his whole career, it's likely he would have had another Super Bowl and many, many more wins. But he didn't get that chance. But on November 14th, 1993, the Miami Dolphins were playing the Philadelphia Eagles. With a record of 6-2, they came into a game missing their star quarterback, who had just torn his Achilles, and his backup, Scott Mitchell, was only able to play in the first half. Their third-string quarterback, a guy named Doug Peterson, who would later win a Super Bowl as a coach as well, would lead them to victory, winning his 325th game, passing George Halas, one of the creators and legends in the NFL for coaching. They would win the game 19-14 as the Dolphins defense shut down the Eagles' last 2-minute drive, forcing a fumble and sealing the win, making Don Shula the all-time winningest head coach in NFL history, being carried off on the field in an iconic moment. Now Shula wasn't done. He would coach another 2 more years, making the playoffs in the last 2 years of his career, finishing it with 347 wins, a number that will likely never be broken because it requires consistency in a game that has become completely different from when he first started coaching. Now, Super Bowl winning coaches are fired within a couple years. You're fired for any misconduct that might happen, or even things you might say in an email. It's a different world of coaching. Despite the fact that Bill Belichick is only 12 wins behind him, it looks like he is settled in coaching college, and no one wanted to hire him after he got let go by the Patriots. So it seems that Don Shula's record is safe, as no one will ever be able to put together a career like his. It's a legendary career, and he should always be mentioned in the best coaches of all time, because what made him great was his ability to adapt. he adapted his team to win around Johnny Unitas. And then when he went to Miami, he adapted his team into a run-heavy, grinded-out team that would go perfect in 1972. And then in the 1980s, he would adapt his team again to one of the craziest air raid offenses that we had ever seen at the time, making Dan Marino a Hall of Famer and getting him even more wins to end his career. Don Shula is a legend, and unfortunately, he passed away on May 4th, 2020, at the age of 90, but he will never be forgotten for what he meant for the league and coaches forever. My question to you is, who is the best coach to ever grace the sidelines of the NFL? I want to thank you for listening to today's Daily Sports History. If you like this, please share it on your social medias. There's a little share button, a little square thingy, wherever you're listening. Press that button and share it to wherever you like to go. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. We're on there. We would love to see it. Tag us if you want. And just send it out and say, hey, check out this great sports history podcast. And we'll see you on the next one.